you've coached against a lot of friends. Have you ever coached against a player? And does it matter when you know the person on the other bench?
I don't know if I've ever coached against a former player. Does it matter? No,
Yeah.
not really. I mean, we all watch tape. We all watch prior games. I think we all have a pretty good idea what the other guy's going to do.
Emotionally, though, I mean, you know, just hey, I know that guy. Hey, I
I'm
don't
a very
know.
non-emotional person. if you haven't paid attention to that.
I know you've said in the past you like beating the guys you don't like.
I have said that.
Yeah.
I meant it too.
Does that mean you don't mind losing to the guys that you do like?
I don't mind losing to anybody, but I mean, I'm happy for Darris. I mean, it's a great opportunity for him, and particularly to be able to do it in his hometown. I mean, we all start somewhere and hopefully have success, and then that success is continued to other places. I've obviously played against former assistant coaches and guys that, I mean, we had a great relationship and really a great bond. But you know, it's our business, and I mean we gotta take care of business. I mean, we're gonna play UAB, and we're playing UAB for one reason. It's Andy Kennedy. It's not UAB or Birmingham.
So you jumped into becoming a head coach pretty quickly. Obviously, Darris has been an assistant for a while, but still, the learning curve when you become a head coach the first time. What are things you don't know when you move into that role?
You know, I was around my dad forever, and I played for my dad for 4 years, and then I was, whether I wanted to be or not, at virtually every practice before and after. So, you know, I was around the game my whole life. I was a year here, you know, with Coach Gardner and Coach Amick, and obviously had relationships with most of the guys on the team, and then left and went to Ohio State for a couple of years, and Coach Miller gave me tremendous opportunities for responsibility, and I was able to be on the floor and coach when I was in town, which wasn't a whole lot because I did all the scouting and I did a large part of the legwork recruiting. So, you know, going to, and everybody thought I was crazy when I left Ohio State to go to Walsh, which maybe I was, but everybody said, "Why do you do it?" And I said, "Because I believe in myself. Well, I'm betting on me," and I think that's what Darris has done, and you know, I think that people, you got to have a strong belief in yourself and believe in what you do, or how are you going to get those guys that play for you to believe in what you do? And I think Darris possesses obviously those qualities.
When you look at their team, I talked to Darris earlier this week, and he said he's still trying to figure out what he's got and what they do best, but they seem to be tweaking things a little bit the last few games. What are you seeing different from them than what you saw?
He's just trying to trick you, John. He knows what he's doing. That's coach speak that he's trying to give you. Don't buy it. He knows what he's doing. I think they went through, which I think everybody does. I mean, you go through a period, you think maybe something works, and it doesn't work the way you thought it was going to work. I mean, it happens to all of us all the time, and so you have to fix it. You know, you have to make, whether it's a subtle change or whether it's a drastic change, you have to fix it. And I think Darris has done that. I mean, look what he's done. He went from they were were struggling to them winning 3 in a row and playing really well. I mean, if you watch those 3 games, they're playing really well. They've got great spacing. They take good shots. You know, they're defending. I mean, they've done a great job. I think, you know, the whole staff, and he's blessed. He's blessed to have his brother there that he trusts. You know, to have somebody there that's sitting beside you that you trust for suggestions that very well could help. And he's got one of our former managers who was here with them, and he has a lot of faith and trust in him. So he's, you know, if you say check the boxes on what Darris did right or what he did wrong, I don't think you're checking any boxes that say anything wrong. I mean, I think he's done everything the right way.
Playing a bunch of guys, and they don't really have one score. Is it unique in how you defend a team that has a bunch of different guys that can score?
Well, you got to guard everybody. And that's we're a little bit top heavy, and I mean sometimes you have to do that. It's personnel related. I mean, everything's personnel related. You try to put the personnel in the position where they can help the team the most, and he's done that. And he's done a really great job. I mean, if you watch them from the beginning to where they are now, they've made unbelievable progress.
Coach, sorry, excuse me. You've obviously told the stories when you were first starting out as a coach to drumming up interest in the program from the Cal and Akron. I've heard stories about, you know, how you used to paint barns at Walsh in the school colors to get.
Those are reality. Those aren't stories.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you're starting out, when coaches are starting out at places like that, and this kind of, I'm guessing this is kind of what Darris is going through now, starting out at Radford. Those are things that you have to do there, right? I mean, it's not like you just walk in and do your job and go home. I mean,
I'd have been the most excited guy in the world if I could have started at Radford instead of Walsh. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, I did things because I thought that's what we had to do.
right.
I mean, Justin, you're talking about going to Walsh College, and I'm not kidding you. I mean, there were 8 or 9 people in the stands my first game, and I think 3 or 4 of them were Brotherhood of Christian Instruction, you know, and they weren't even wearing their stuff, you know. I mean, they come in there pretty casual now, you know, sweater on, and they sat there and read a book the first half. That's the gospel truth. They sat there and read a book the first half and left at halftime.
At least they weren't cussing you out.
No, I walked down the stairs. I said to my assistant, I said to Dan Peters, I said, we're going to get so good they have to stay the whole game and wear their collars. Darris don't have to.
But when a player of yours goes on to be a coach, what trait of you would you hope that they would take with them, and which one would you hope they don't?
The will to win, I think, certainly would be the one that I wish that they would take, and I think they have. Bob, I make a lot of mistakes. I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes through the years, you know. It'd be hard to pinpoint one, because I've made so many, you know, over the years. But you know, I think what I'm really proud of is relationships, and the relationships that I have with my guys, you know, and people they see what happens on the surface. They see when I, you know, get on them a little bit about something, or maybe get on them a lot, you know, about screwing something up. They don't understand the relationships, and they don't understand how those relationships are ongoing. I mean, I honestly don't hardly ever spend a day and not hear from one of those guys. And that's guys from Walsh, that's guys from Akron, and Darris is gonna be that kind of coach. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt, you know, you get calls and people want to my guys talk about, Coach, I'm thinking about getting married, this girl, and they start telling you all about the girl and how compatible they are and, all those kind of things. And I'm like, what the hell do you want me to tell you? I've never met the girl. I don't know. Tell you this, they're all hard to live with. But, and I can't go much further, but I mean, that happens. I mean, and it happens with guys know if you care about them or not. I mean, they do. And Darris is the kind of person that will be one of those guys where those guys will continue to have conversations with them for years and years and years to come.
Was this game put together?
Josh Eilert's the one that did it.
Was it before Darris got it, or was it when he got the job?
I don't know.
Huh.
Josh did it. So whatever school
I know
there
schedule,
is,
yeah.
it was Josh. It was not me.
Yeah.
It was all Josh. Honestly, I don't know.
Don't know what it was before. We think that Darris is the first since Schaus to come back here and coach against his team. You played in that game. Do you remember anything about that game?
Yeah, we got our kicked.
Yeah.
I remember vividly. I mean, we got drilled.
Do you remember any of the build-up before the game leading to it with Schaus? No.
I only read the DA. I couldn't afford to buy the paper.
Does Darris get the little general pullover treatment tomorrow? Or?
He probably does, because him and Fred were close, so probably so.
Everybody's talked so much about student player and coach facing each other. You don't get a matchup like this very, very often where both guys in college are coaching in their hometowns facing each other.
No.
That's pretty, I can't think how that could happen.
It's very rare. Yeah. I never thought about that, Bob, but you're absolutely
I have a lot of time on my hands.
Yeah,
I'm sure New York or
I'm
Philly,
working
though.
towards that. I'm working towards that goal. To have a lot of time on my hands.
So Bob, you had a couple years at Ohio State, one here. Are there advantages that Darris had by spending, all that time as an assistant right beside Mike White, learning the ropes, or is it better to learn by just jumping in and doing it?
You'd be a lot better served asking Darris that. I don't know. I'll tell you this: you learn a lot, be it good or bad. I mean, I learned a lot from guys that I coached with, what not to do. And those are as valuable or maybe more valuable than what you take good from somebody, because we all screw up. We all make mistakes. I've made so many mistakes I couldn't count them all. And hopefully, people like Eric Martin have learned from my screw ups. It's not a perfect deal. I mean, it's very imperfect, and we learn as we go. Hopefully I don't make as many mistakes as I used to. But
I know a lot of this has been about Darris returning. Are you still seeing progress in your team? Particularly, I think, beginning of the second half, you built a pretty big lead. What are you seeing from your team right now that you like?
Well, I think our bigs are getting a little better. I think their progress has been probably the thing that stands out the most, is that they are getting better.
Looks like Senny is kind of inching his way in a little bit too.
Well, Sonny had a great week of practice. I mean, not a good week, a great week, and then but that's gonna happen. We put him in a game and he was not very good. In fact, he was bad.
He pursues the ball.
Yeah, but you know what? Pursuing it's one thing. You know, it's like, John, it's like throwing the ball for your dog. You ever do that? You know, and your dog runs out and gets it and brings it back, you know, and there's times when your dog runs out there and looks at it and just comes back.
Yeah.
So if you want the ball, come get it yourself. And there's more to it than pursuing it, is my point.
Yeah.
You have to get it.
Well, at least there's a willingness to try.
Well, I don't know. I mean, how hard's the dog trying if you don't bring it back?
Yeah.
There's nobody blocking him out.
Looked like you had a rebounding advantage, but it looked like it could have been a lot more of a rebounding advantage if they went after it like you want them to, right? That was your...
I don't know. You know, you kind of. I think those guys were really excited to get to play because they really haven't played. So, I mean, obviously they're going to make mistakes, nervous mistakes. Cindy was blocking shots. He was doing, and then what happens is then people get to you. You know, they put a body on you. Well, it's hard to block shots when you have a body on you. That's what you do with shot blockers. Is you try to put a body on them to where that keeps them from being able to do what they do. And we've got to get. Sonny's got to continue to grow to keep people off his body.
Do you like how you're managing your roster and the time? I ask that because you got so many guys you're trying to work in, and there's only so many opportunities that you have. Are you seeing enough from your guys to make these decisions when you need them for conference play?
I see him in practice every day.
Yeah, I mean, it's different playing in games.
Different because there's people watching you.
Yeah, different styles, different teams. They don't know what you know, that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, that's why you have a couple of days to prepare for it.
Mm-hmm.
And the hard thing is playing somebody like going to a tournament and playing the next day and not really having any time to prepare for it. That's the hard part.
So you feel like you've seen enough of them to make the decisions on who's going to play when you get in the league play? Because that's still to be determined.
I probably knew that, John, before we ever tossed it up the first time.
I was talking with Darris yesterday, you know, obviously he's coming back here, and I was asking him, you know, well, are you gonna get a chance to do this or that? And he goes, no, I mean, we're basically, you know, they're busting in late tonight, and they'll have a shoot around in the morning, play the game and go home. It seems like, and maybe I'm wrong, but the coaching profession is so much less personable nowadays. I mean, how do you guys ever create relationships with other coaches when it's so much hustle and bustle? I mean, did it always used to be that? I mean,
No, we used to do it in the summer. I mean, we used to have a couple months to recruit, and so you saw everybody, because for instance, you go to Vegas and you're in Vegas for 4 or 5 days.
Right.
You go to Georgia and you're there for 2 or 3 days, and you're there. When I'm saying days, I'm talking you're there early in the morning and you leave late at night. So there's so much more chance, there was so much more chance back then that you did develop, relationships with people.
and that's changed? I mean, why?
No,
why,
it's totally changed.
why has that changed?
Well, everything's virtual. It's hard to really get to know somebody.
Sure.
It used to be you would walk in, at the Peach Jam, and the whole one side and the whole underneath on both sides, full of coaches.
Right.
And when you're a kid and you're going in there and you're like, you're afraid to, like, you don't know where to sit. You mean, you don't wanna take Dean Smith's chair, you know?
Right.
So, you know, it's totally different.
With that said, obviously the game's different, rules are different, NIL, I mean, the world's changing. Would you wanna be a guy in Darris' shoes right now, starting out coaching in this atmosphere the way it is today?
No. No, I wouldn't.
Because of all the stuff, or?
More because of relationships, I think. It's hard. How, if you can't go out and meet people,
Right.
you know, during recruiting periods and such, we have so many people making decisions for us that don't know a damn thing about what we do. They don't know anything about the culture. They don't know anything about why those of us that are where we are got to where we are. We don't have a clue.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I could sit here and name you 20 guys that we kind of basically grew up together, you know, from being assistants and, you know, to being maybe a higher paid assistant, to being a coach at a smaller school, to then moving on. But we were all doing the same thing. We're all together all summer.
Right.
You know, and I don't mean it this the wrong way, but I know everybody. I mean, but I know everybody because I don't know the young guys. I don't know the new guys, and probably never will if it continues to go the way it's going with this virtual stuff.
You don't have the opportunity like you.
No, you never have an opportunity.
Is there any value in a game like Tuesdays when Gabe, I think, only played 1 minute in the first half? You obviously know what he brings.
Well, hopefully Gabe gets it in his head that, you know, if he fouls, he's coming out. You know, he's got to. We got to have the guy at the end of the game. He makes plays, and I can't have him with 4 fouls with a whole half to go.
Is there any positive in being able to see some of your other bigs and some of the other guys like Paulie and Damon obviously got a little bit more time in that opening half than maybe they would have otherwise?
Really? Yeah. I mean, that's probably true. But I think we all knew it was coming with Gabe, you know.
What are we going to see tomorrow with him? Are we going to see some John Beeline stuff? We're going to see some Mike White stuff. We're going to see some Bob Huggins stuff. What are we going to see from Radford?
They're running motion. They're running primarily our motion stuff. I mean, I'm sure he's incorporated some of John's things. John ran really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure he's incorporated some of that. But the crux of what they switched to was 5-man motion.
What about defensively?
They're playing man. They haven't played zone that I've seen yet.
So,
They're
man.
playing man.
You leaning towards redshirting Jamil Payne? What's your thought there?
Probably so. I don't think there's any absolutes. If we think that he's a guy who can come in and help us, then we're gonna play him. All those freshmen want to play. Hey, nobody wants to redshirt.
Anything else? Thanks, good.
Why don't you just, game's an hour later? Yeah.
Lock him in a locker room?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just